Patterns. Every day the same start. Harry never wakes up from my alarm. A routine is good, to a point. I used to love this efficiency, but I feel trapped by it now. This t-shirt is Harry's favourite on me. The same stories I've carried with me for years between houses. Why have I just passed by this for so long? It's beautiful. It's good to have reference points in your life, some patterns. I don't want my life with Harry to change, but it will happen if I don't take control. Even here I get into patterns. Bathroom first, then kitchen for breakfast. Maybe I should change that. Every change helps. Tea. A man takes the lead, Grandma would tell me. I guess I need to step up to the line. I've got a great thing here. I don't think she meant this, but she's right. I should take the lead. I should ask Harry to marry me. I want to be his husband. I'm not sure Grandma would approve. She's come a long way. It's hard to tell with her.
Naturally, as Will's grandmother, I knew Will since the first day he was born, of course. I will never forget that first moment in the hospital, when James, that's Will's father, handed me my grandson for the first time. He wriggled in his blue blanket, already a strong boy. James liked that punk thing in the 1980s and looked a terrible mess to me. He ran 3 pubs in London for those sort of people. I would go over to babysit as often as I could. A child needs someone normal in their life. Will's birth wasn't very easy, but he got here. He was never going to have brothers or sisters after, though. I always thought Will should play outside more. He preferred making up stories, even back then. Sharon was always reading. She taught art history. Never really made much money. James and Sharon would always be putting on some awful music, if you can call it that. Not my cup of tea at all. I turned it off first thing whenever I was babysitting. Will's mother is an American, Sharon. They met through James's pubs. She took Will away to America for 3 years when she and James split up. They got back together again, though. James liked such strange books, full of horrible things. I remember him telling me about one with rats everywhere. I really don't see the appeal. I suppose I sound old-fashioned, but there are appropriate ways to raise a child. I only wanted Will to grow up happy and normal. I remember that evening. Will had been quieter than usual. He told me that he'd been in a fight. It started because a boy had been picking on a girl, calling her names because of her dark skin. Will had tried to stop the other boy, but he had been punched in the stomach. I asked him if he had cried, and he said yes. I told him that big boys don't cry. I remember him asking me then, what do big boys do when they're sad? When he was grown up, I told him he would be a good man. He would be able to stand up to others. He had done the right thing, I told him, even though it hurt him that time. Looking back, I don't think he seemed very comforted. Will tripped on a toy when he was going to bed. I remember carrying him. He was trying so hard not to cry. He was so small in my arms. I've never forgotten that feeling. It's most odd what sticks with you. A whole patchwork of memories making up our lives. I took him to bed to read him a story. Sharon kept on buying him books of ghost stories. He always wanted me to read him those, but he never slept properly after, I think. I always had to check the room for ghosts before he would settle down. I always looked carefully to reassure him. I remember that night clearly. I remember promising him that I would always protect him, no matter whatever happened. Of course, he was thinking of ghosts still, but maybe I knew then that his life wasn't going to be so easy. I wasn't reading a new ghost book. I was reading him Grimm's fairy tales. The old stories are much better than these new ones. There was a short, very strange story that night, called The Ungrateful Son. It went something like this. Once upon a time, a man and his wife were eating a roast chicken for dinner. When the man saw his father, a very old man, walking along the road towards them, the man didn't want to share, and so he hid the chicken out of sight. The man's father arrived, bid them good day, and continued on his way. The man was very happy, and so told his wife to put the chicken on the table again. But the chicken had transformed into a giant toad, which leapt onto the face of the man. The toad would never leave, and when his wife wanted to help, she was so afraid of it that she dared not go near. The man had to feed the toad every day from then on, or it would bite his face, and he never rested for the remainder of his life. Like I say, it was a very strange story. Will was asleep before I finished it, which was probably a good thing. I felt strange after reading it. I wondered about whether I really could keep him safe. I knew I would do my best to help him find his place in the world. Any other grandmother would try to do the same. I could still see him sleeping there now, like it was only yesterday. I never thought it would be easy, but I had raised James, so I thought I would be ready for anything from my grandson Will. The world changes so quickly. I remember the family visiting me when Will was a teenager. Did you ever hear the song Here in My Heart? That was playing when Robert first kissed me. Al Martino had a beautiful voice. They don't sing like that anymore. Such a shame. I started a small collection of glass animals many years ago. I would buy a new one whenever I went to Brighton. It's good to get out of the house, enjoy the fresh sea air. We've family over in New Zealand. I went to visit them after James had grown up. We still write letters to each other at Christmas, you know. It's important to stay in touch with your family, even when we're so spread out. My husband Robert was a writer. Sadly, he died before Will really knew him. He could have gone far if he'd applied himself a bit more. We were all waiting back then for Diana to divorce Charles. It had been such a scandal after that television interview that she did. People seem to believe that all us old folk want to talk about is the weather, so I started the conversation. I see that Diana is in the news again. It seems like she's never out of it these days. It's about time she stopped keeping everyone waiting.
I think it's sad. She was bullied into all of this from the beginning.
I could have handled the rest of the conversation better. I lost my temper a bit. James took Will's side on it all. He always would be difficult in those kinds of things. Sharon didn't join in, but it wasn't hard to imagine what an American might think of it all. I wish I'd never even started the conversation. They didn't want to hear my opinion. "Excuse me, I'm going to make some tea," I said. No one offered to help. Was it childish? I don't think any of us wanted tea, but I didn't want to talk to them anymore. I know it seems like a small thing, but maybe it was the first time that I felt apart from Will. James and Sharon were both adults, but Will... Back then, society worked by all getting along. You kept your head down. It's easier to stand up from the crowd now, but... well, I don't think it's right. There wasn't any choice in my day, but it gave me a quiet life. That was good enough. I was scared for him. He had all these views about things, and it was dangerous. If you go against society, you always end up in trouble. I was so scared that Will was going to go off half-cocked and make a mess of his life. I waited, letting the tea brew. And I cried for him. He was young, but he was old enough too. He was going to make mistakes, and I wouldn't be able to stop him. I knew something had been broken that day between Will and I. I took a deep breath and pulled myself together. It's not the done thing to let others see you get upset. I live by myself. I always have done since Robert went. I had felt this was acceptable until then. Feeling distant from your family is the most awful thing. It's the strangest feeling of mourning. I know I'm from a different generation with different values, but I don't think they're all wrong. I wasn't prepared to accept that Will wasn't going to talk to me anymore. You can't accept it, really, when you see someone you love putting their future at risk. All these free ideas about people choosing their own way to live. He would understand later. But how much later? But before he changed, what damage would he do to his options? Doing Christmas by yourself takes a lot of work, but I like to keep busy. Will went off to university, but I clearly remember the Christmas that he and the family came home. I didn't know what to expect that Christmas. I just wanted us to all be close again. But I was nervous. I kept in touch with a lot of friends. We didn't have email, of course, but even now they just aren't as good as a real letter. I wanted the house to look perfect. Will was going to bring a girlfriend, Sarah, and I wanted her to get the right impression. My family arrived just as the Christmas lunch was ready. It was perfect timing. I hadn't seen Will since he left. I wanted him to understand I wanted the best for him. I always wanted that, no matter if he disagreed with me. Did I tell you that Sharon and James split up for 3 years once? Will spent the time in America with her family. It was hard for me, not seeing him. He was 10 and, like most boys, he wasn't interested in writing many letters. James is like his father, really. A wonderful boy. But I do wish he would apply himself more. Sarah seemed a little shy, but she was lovely. She told us about her university courses and was thoroughly charming. Will was a perfect gentleman. He doted on Sarah.
Thanks.
It filled me with pride and hope to see him that day. He was becoming the man I had hoped he would be. Sarah seemed like such a lovely match for him. He would have a happy, normal life. But that was the last time I saw her. The next summer, I went to visit Will at university.